Hey everyone, and welcome to the Marketing Guides for Small Business podcast. I'm Ian Cantle, and I'm joined by Ken and Paul from Changescape Web, and Jeff from Tylerica Systems has pre-recorded his answers because he couldn't be with us today, but I know he'll do an awesome job as well. And today's episode is packed with simple creation easier than ever for you. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the thought of creating regular content for your business, like most people do, then this episode is absolutely for you. We're going to break down how you can start creating powerful, engaging content today without getting bogged down in the complexities, from using FAQs to tap into your customers' most pressing questions to leveraging deeper insights with should ask questions known as SAQs. We'll show you how to turn these ideas into blog posts, social media content, and much more. So whether you're a seasoned marketer or just starting out, you'll walk away from this episode with practical tools to create content that not only speaks to your audience, but also drives results. So stick around. This episode is designed to help you transform the way you approach content creation. So, Ken, I'm going to start with you. What are FAQs and why are they so powerful for content creation?
Yeah, well, we talk about, focusing on the problems that you solve and how that's so important from an SEO perspective. And so frequently asked questions are really a way that customers, clients, patients are describing the problems that they are having. And so having answers on your website, if done correctly, can be a really nice boost from an SEO perspective. But so basically FAQs are literally just questions that people ask as they're trying to figure out if a business is right for them, who they want to work with. Could be, things as simple as what, directions to your business, or it could be, which is better for my house, this type of roofing or this type of roofing. And so there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. And a lot of people I think they phone them in. Businesses who put FAQs on their website, they just phone them in. They feel like they got to grab like 6, stick them on a website, and they're done. You're really missing a big opportunity because, again, the best way to get your ideal customer is to focus on the problems that your ideal customers have. And so FAQs can help to weed out those businesses that are those customers that may not be your ideal clients. I mentioned SEO friendly. Obviously, you got to have enough content for the search engines to know what to do with to help it figure out how to rank. But you can cumulatively add FAQs together on a single page, or something like that might help. You can group them based on topics, variety of things. I think the other thing too that's really, really helpful that I don't think a lot of people are taking advantage of is FAQs can align really well with voice searches, because people are speaking the questions to, those voice search devices that are out there from Amazon and Apple and Microsoft and, on and on and on. So big opportunity missed there if you're not really focusing on how people are asking questions to those devices for your frequently asked questions. You already know the answers, or you if not, then it's probably something that maybe you need to go learn especially if it's frequent, right? And so and train your staff on how to answer those questions so you get consistency. But it also, when you put those on your website, you gain some benefit. Right now, one of the biggest benefits is training like AI bots to be able to answer some of these frequently asked questions that people come to your website. Keeps them on your site, improves your dwell time, can pre-qualify people or disqualify people, which can be a really big benefit for the business depending on what your strategy is. And ultimately right now, kind of the gold standard is not a form submission or a phone call. It's a booked appointment, whether it's a reservation if you're a restaurant, or an appointment if you're in the medical space, or a consultation if you're, a consultant, or, free estimate, and so those are the goals that you might want to set. And so frequently asked questions, training, those answers as your source of truth, can be really beneficial. It builds a lot of trust. I mean, people who get an answer from a business, they may not be ready to buy. They're probably not likely to sign up for your email newsletter the first visit they hit your website, but they might be willing to type a question into the search engine and see how your business answers that. So, and I mean, this requires a considerable more work, but from an SEO perspective, you have a chance to get into the knowledge panel and things like that when you're answering questions. And so, gosh, there are just so many reasons why you want to do this. Yeah, I mean, I think I covered most of it. Well,
Yeah.
last thing I'll say is, it just gives you great source material for repurposing content, and I think Jeff's going to get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what you said there, Ken, for our listeners and viewers today, like the whole reason you want it, like you're answering these on a daily, weekly, monthly basis anyways,
Right.
and people are asking them, and if they're asking them online, who do you want to show up for the answers? It's you, it's not your competition, but somebody's going to
Exactly.
show up. So it better
Right.
darn well be you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. One thing too that I think is important is Google has the questions and answers feature.
Yeah.
So when you go through this exercise, you can also use your frequently asked questions that you put on your website to help your website from a content perspective. But you can also take that content and put it into the Google questions and answers, which is going to help you show up potentially, better on the Google Maps result.
Yeah. This comes up an awful lot when I'm speaking with clients and they're wrestling down with, we know we should be building out, video content, especially this pops up related to video content. And almost always this is where I go first with them because they're already comfortable answering these. Like, and I've told them, like, just set up a Zoom call with yourself or like what's the 5 top questions you got asked this week, and just go off, just start talking about how you would as if you were talking to a prospect.
Yeah.
And that stuff is gold, for all the reasons that you said.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Super low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
um Awesome. Why don't you queue up Jeff? And so the question I was asking him was, how do you identify the right FAQs to use?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Ian. Identifying the right FAQs to use is actually not that difficult. If you really think about it, you're the expert on your business, and people ask you questions all the time because you're the expert on it. And that's the definition of a frequently asked question. So really what we got to do is just think about where to go look for all those questions. You could probably sit down with pen and paper and list out 15 or 20 of them just off the top of your head. So that's a good place to start. But if you want to look and see what people are really asking, there's a bunch of places you can go. Look at your email inbox. Just scroll back through and see what kind of questions you get from the emails. Look at your emails from past customers, past pre-sales interactions, and see what questions are being asked. Maybe log them on a spreadsheet. I said pencil and paper a minute ago, but log them on a spreadsheet, and then you can also create tallies, and then you can prioritize them. You can look at customer service interactions or interactions with other members of your team. If you use a help desk software, you can get the questions that people are asking there. They presumably are tagged by the support staff, and then you can look at groups of them based on tags. You can also just ask other team members what kinds of questions people ask them. Keep in mind that people are going to ask different team members different questions than they will ask you. So you'll get a broader representation of your overall questions being asked if you survey other members of your team. There's a couple of online tools you can use. One is Google's People Also Ask. So just start typing in any search query. You'll see other keywords that may be related to that. That's useful, but that's not necessarily what I mean. Finish the search, hit enter, and then scroll down the page below the sponsored content, below the AI overview, and you'll see a section called People Also Ask. List 3 or 4 questions, maybe 5, that people are asking relative to the search term. So you maybe get some inspiration for FAQs from there. And then there are other online tools you can use. A lot of SEO tools have the capabilities when you're doing keyword research to look for questions around those keywords. There's a free one called Answer the Public, just answerthepublic.com. That may redirect now. That tool was bought by NP Digital, Neil Patel, one of the SEO gurus. But it's useful. It will show you around search terms what kind of questions people ask. So that's another possibility. You can look at online forums and social media groups, maybe more relevant in the B2B world than B2C. B2C, bigger national kind of interest groups, special topics, maybe. But if you're like a local plumber, a local roofer, you're probably not going to have access to the neighborhood Facebook groups where people are asking questions. But anything you can find relative to online forums and discussion groups is a great place to make FAQs. You can send out surveys, ask people questions. What are your top concerns? What are the top issues that you have? Now, one tip, don't do a checkbox. Don't give them preceded answers and they just have to check which ones apply to them, because you'll get back the answers that you already know. The questions people are asking, the questions you told them that, are you asking any of these? Make it open-ended. Just list out your top concerns or questions, give them a block to fill in, type away. You can also look at your website analytics, specifically Google Search Console tie into website analytics. The analytics themselves, you'll get information about what pages people are visiting. And based on the pages people are visiting, you may come up with some ideas for questions that they might be asking. But if you look at the Search Console information, and this can be tied to the analytics, so you can look at it in analytics, by the way. But the Search Console is going to tell you the queries that people are typing to get to your website, or at least the ones where you're showing up as possible places for them to click. You're showing up in search results. Now, be a little careful there, because you're not answering a question that people are asking. You're not going to show up ranking for it most likely, and then you're not going to see query data on it because you don't have the content that answers it. So you can't say that because it's not on the Search Console query list, people aren't asking that question. You just know that you're not showing up as the result. But if you are showing up as a result, then maybe you can generate some deeper content based on that query.
Yeah, great insights there. I mean, man, like every business owner, every front desk person, they know what the top questions are, and they just need to create a list and start creating answers or fulfilling their answers, right? It's not a hard process. It just takes a little bit of dedicated effort. And yeah, I agree with Jeff. Like if you can create kind of a centralized place where you put these for your business, that then allows you to then start creating content very systematically for that, and prioritizing, like, here's the content we're going to start creating related to these FAQs.
Yeah.
Makes your life easier and makes you accountable to yourself too.
You know, one thing too that I didn't cover when listening to Jeff's answer, you know, your salespeople, sales objections, product specification objections, any answering objections and objection handling, is really powerful from an FAQ perspective. And I don't think most businesses are taking advantage of that either. And maybe they're, I get it. Some businesses are, a little protective of some things, but if somebody's asking that question before they're making a purchase from you, again, I think you're only going to help yourself more by answering it publicly through an FAQ on your website or, Google or wherever you might put that information. So.
Yeah. One and another place you can glean low-hanging fruit ideas as well outside of FAQs, even though we're mostly focused on that idea, is I would say your reviews online, and specifically negative reviews. So I'm thinking, when somebody leaves a negative review, there's obviously an opportunity for you to solve that problem, like go back to them and try to solve the problem, and hopefully they'll change their review. But on the other side of it, one of the things I see in dentistry all the time is that some people, new patients, are very frustrated if they don't understand whether their insurance is they're able to use their insurance at a particular dentist. So if that's something that comes up continuously in reviews, and your front desk staff would know that as well, you should be answering that question somewhere in the process where somebody is coming to your website or looking at you, or it's a place to find other things you should be answering for sure.
Yeah.
Paul, I think this is where we really love getting into the weeds a little bit, but I think how do we create SEO friendly content from frequently asked questions?
Well, I'd start by creating a facts page, both facts and should ask questions, and link to that from somewhere on your homepage so it's easy for people to find. When you answer the facts, it doesn't necessarily have to be a long drawn out answer. Answer the question, but then maybe link to a blog post or a page that answers that question more in depth, so that people can go if they're interested, if they want a more detailed answer, if they want more in-depth content on that. It's easy for them to find, and internal linking is good from an SEO perspective. Anyway, put keywords in there. Don't keyword stuff, but use keywords in your facts. And again, use those keywords as anchor text for the internal linking. Schema markup. That's a technical thing. I'm not going to go down in the weeds on that, but use schema markup on your facts pages, because that helps search engines understand that that's what this is. It's frequently asked questions and should ask questions, and it helps the search engines understand what that page is about. And I covered internal linking. And then at the end of your facts, no matter if you use an accordion or no matter how you do it, put a conclusion.
Explain an accordion, Paul.
Well, it's where it has a question and a drop down arrow, and you click on that, and then it shows the answer.
Yeah, or a plus button or something. Yeah.
Right. A lot of times they do, because if you have 20 facts, then that could be a good format to do that. Otherwise, you have a very long page. Not that that's not going to hurt you, but from a user experience, it may not be the best thing. But then, have a conclusion at the end of that kind of summarizes things. And I know it's a pretty short answer, but I think that pretty much covers it. But I think the biggest thing, the internal linking is from an SEO perspective, that internal linking is probably going to help you as much or more than anything.
And Ken alluded to this and even covered it a little bit, but is there an interconnection that businesses can do whereby they're doing these FAQs on their website, like you talked about, and then somehow they do them in Google on Google? Is there any kind of best practices whereby you can increase that signal strength between the two of those?
Well, you can link to your facts from a Google Business Profile post. You have to be careful, because there's certain things that Google doesn't allow within their posts. You can't put your phone number in there, or a clickable phone number anyway. But yeah, you can certainly do Google Business Profile posts that link back to your facts page, and that will send signals to Google about the importance of that page and the importance of that information.
Awesome. And you had talked about building out an FAQ page. Is there also pros or cons to having FAQs under particular product or services pages?
If there are questions specific to a particular product or service, you can put them on that page. I wouldn't put all of your facts or should I ask questions on that page. I would only put the ones specific to that product or service, but then you can certainly have a link back to that. And this goes back to the internal linking, have a link back to the facts page.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Ken, this leads into the next kind of bucket we're looking at as far as how to create content easily. And this falls under the topic of should ask questions. So what are should ask questions, or SAQs, because we like acronyms?
Yeah.
And how do these differ from FAQs? And can you give some examples as well?
Yeah. So should ask questions are the questions that you commonly don't hear your customers asking, but they really should. Like a lot of people might choose to, I'll use a plumber as an example. They may choose to try to hire a plumber. They don't ask anything about local codes, and so, if you've got a specific service area, you might want to have a should ask question that says, oh, by the way, before you hire any plumbing contractor, you need to make sure that they know and understand not only the local codes, but how to get approval, through the local jurisdictions. And that's not something that I see hardly at all. So I don't know how easy it is to create those. It should be easy. It's certainly overlooked way too much.
Hey,
I think
Ken,
SAQs,
can I just add something in there?
yeah,
And this is an example that I've seen one or two electricians in my area, and one of them one of the things that they talked about, which is really like a should ask question, was insurance. Like, how insured are they if they burn your house down when they're putting in electrical work? Or same with
yeah,
a plumber, right?
right, yeah,
Do
exactly,
you have insurance? Is
yeah,
probably a good question to be asking tradespeople.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. You mentioned, harvesting reviews for FAQ content. I would say you not only look at yours, but look at competitors. And also, the way, especially like you said, the negative reviews, those could be great seed topics and ideas to help you come up with the should ask questions. Because there's a situation where clearly was a situation where somebody didn't have the experience that they were anticipating. And so is there something that they could have or should have asked before that experience? So, really where this gets to the heart and soul is differentiation. This allows you to guide the buyer's journey in a way that, they may not have thought about before. They're obviously in control, but when they see that you're answering questions that are moving them through the sales cycle and making them build that know, like, and trust, because you're giving them information that they didn't think to ask. Because it's like, we don't know what we don't know. And so this is a great opportunity for your business to help people understand you probably don't know this. It's something that's really important for you to know. And so it positions you as an expert, leads to differentiation, and you're just super powerful. Educates people again, through that buyer's journey, moves them from, the point where they're just exploring, they're raising their hand and they're saying, I've got this problem. I'm just looking for a quick answer, not ready to talk to anybody, not ready to hire anybody. Now your should ask questions are, if they're digging deeper into that, is like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. So, and when they get that information from you, as opposed to a competitor, it just deepens the trust and moves them further along the sales cycle. It gives you an opportunity to identify hidden opportunities to win in SEO, which I think is great, because SEO has gotten more competitive than it's ever been. And this is a gold mine that I think many businesses never even think to explore, and most marketing consultants don't ever talk about, which I don't get. But this is where you can truly provide that long tail information that eventually people are going to need to understand. And so it just really helps you position and differentiate your business, ultimately to get people to feel confident in the way that they're making their buying decisions.
That's awesome. Yeah, and sorry, my bandwidth just died there for a second, so I don't know if I'm jittery, but one of the things that I always equate this to is uh, if I were to hire a marketer, because I'm a marketing agency owner, if I were to hire another marketing agency to do something, I know the questions I would ask because I'm in that business. Just like when, funny enough, dentists need dental work done, right?
Right.
And so, what makes me very curious is what are the questions that a dentist is going to ask another dentist when they're trying to figure out who they should go to take care of their teeth, or a plumber is going to ask another plumber to, say they're growing so fast and they need to sub out some of their work. Like, what questions do they ask that other plumber
Yeah.
are very indicative of how to guide people in choosing making a really good decision, right?
Yeah. 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 And, I mean, we're all busy. We all wear multiple hats. We're all, doing a lot of different things. Should ask questions can also help qualify, but also disqualify potential
Yeah.
people. A should ask question may be like, getting it to the point of, are there hidden fees, that are associated with this type of work, and how you answer that people, or it's like, well, I want James Hardy citing. And it's like, you need to tell people up front, unless you want to waste a lot of time, or unless you have a downsell strategy to get them to, maybe a luxury premium vinyl siding or something like that. You may not really want to talk to a lot of those people, but you still want to be responsive. You still want to answer their question. It builds goodwill. They may not be your customer, but they may know a lot of people who are their customer. And because they got a good experience and didn't run down a rabbit hole and didn't face disappointment, they may still wind up, referring you because of the information you shared.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that just clicked in my mind there too, Ken, as you were talking about that, is that one of the other areas we can figure out. So going back to our previous questions about FAQs, frequently asked questions, and it relates to should ask questions too, is that as chatbots become more prevalent and as we're using them, most chatbots, you can look at kind of the transcription of the discussions, and the chatbot's trying to get smarter, trying to get as the business. And so I think that's actually a really great place also, that as this technology grows, we can harvest information that people are interacting with the AI chatbots about, because it's another form of, front desk or salespeople, or,
Yeah.
it's a representative of your business where people are asking questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point.
All right. So if you can queue up Jeff, the next question I asked for him was, how do you identify the best should ask questions for your business?
So on to identifying the best should ask questions for your business. Here's some ideas for you. Start by researching pain points. Think about your customer journey and the issues and concerns that they're having. If there's any underlying issues or concerns that they may not recognize, in other words, their top level questions are superficial, you need to ask for the question behind the question. Look for the pain points. Why is that a problem? What is the impact of that problem? What would it mean if that problem was solved? You can drill down into that deeper level below the superficial question. Well, now you've got more topics you can write about in the form of should ask questions. In other words, people ask the superficial level, top level question. That's the frequently asked question. What they really should be asking are these deeper questions. There's your SAQs. Ask your sales team or customer service team, product fulfillment, delivery team. Find out what kind of questions they get asked. Remember, as the business owner, as somebody playing a particular role in the business, whether it's the owner or a marketer, you're going to get one view, one set of questions people are asking you. But other team members, other departments, other functions in business may get asked different questions. So again, you're looking for the deeper level of interaction beyond the superficial question. What are the more insightful questions that lead to the sale that then can be or lead to effective product adoption, product use? Those can all become should ask questions. They're uncovered deeper in the process, but you can use them upfront early in the process to help drive your expertise and your authority. You can look at competitor content, look at what competitors are missing and fill that gap. Look at things that they're talking about that you aren't and go, gee, if they're talking about them, maybe I should. So competitor analysis is important for identifying gaps to fill, both on your side and their side. And then you can generate your content to draw people in based on that. You can dig into the advanced customer needs. So after they've had a chance to think about your product or service, to use it for a while, you can survey them. You can go back and say, based on this, what do you wish that you had known prior to deciding to work with us or to buy our product? What questions, what discussions would it have been useful to have? And you can be upfront. You can tell them, we're trying to improve our initial customer experience on the front of the customer journey, and we need a little bit of help. You can gamify it. You can run a contest. Answer our thing. We'll give you a Starbucks gift card. We'll give you a small upgrade on something. We'll give you a small discount. You can incentivize people to give you the feedback. You can also consult with industry experts. Industry experts are a great place to see what kind of things they're being asked. And that can be people. It can also just be valuable industry websites. What kind of things are they talking about? Look at their blogs. I have a roofer client that we'll look at roofing industry websites and product manufacturer websites to see what kind of things they're addressing. And then they might trickle down. It needs to be reframed for our buyers. In other words, if the shingle manufacturer is talking about all the benefits of their shingles for the roofer, we need to reframe it for the homeowner. But that's great places to look for deeper content, which can then be turned into should ask questions. Again, the deep content is the people aren't thinking about those questions yet, but you can be proactive and go ahead and get the answers to them out early. And then finally, you can look at past history with your clients, mine reviews and testimonials of your clients or other clients. A lot of times when we do strategy work, we'll do this exercise. And if we see people talking about, or a business says we're good at A, B, and C, we'll see people talking about A, B, and C in the reviews. When they also mention X, Y, and Z may be things that you could address early on in the form of FAQs, content on your website that will answer those questions that you hadn't even thought people were asking until you go do the mining of the data afterwards. So should ask questions, I think, are a great opportunity for you to establish your deeper expertise and authority, become the trusted mentor and advisor that people want to do business.
That's awesome. Yeah, one of the other areas I've found very valuable for should ask questions and some FAQs, but uncovering kind of hidden golden nuggets of truth is when we do an audit or a strategy first blueprint for our clients. When we do client interviews, just because we're a third party, we usually uncover things about their experience that they probably didn't share with the business or the business owner, just because of the social interactions that causes, right? And we almost always find amazing hidden nuggets of, well, I thought it was going to be like this, but it was a little bit different, and I'm not upset, but I wish it would have been different. And one of the questions, if you could do it again, what do you wish would happen? And sometimes that just allows people to think through the process a little bit more, and it helps shape some of those should ask questions, and also helps shapes the business and how you deliver your services.
Yeah.
Paul, how can should ask questions drive more conversions?
Well, they certainly can play a part in it, because should ask questions, going back to the FAQs tend to be more general, high level, where the should ask questions, they're questions that obviously people should be asking, but they don't know to ask because they're more detailed. So by having FAQs on your website, it helps establish you as a trusted authority, and it shows that you're proactive. And if you put them on you have an FAQ page, it's like, okay, here's the questions people ask all the time, but here's questions if you're looking to hire a business for a particular service, like talk about service area businesses, here's what you should be asking them. And so it shows that you're proactive, and that helps build trust. And it's educational. It's like, because a lot of people are like, okay, I mean, how often do you have your house rewired, or how often do you have a roof put on you? It's like, they may know general questions, but it's like, here's what you really should be asking. Here's a deeper question that if you're going to hire a company to do whatever it is, here's what you really need to know. And here's what you should really be asking. And that differentiates you. And that can help lead to higher quality leads, because if people start looking at that and they're like, okay, this company, they're proactive, they're putting these deeper questions on there, and these are things that I need to know, but I never actually thought of because this isn't my area of expertise. And it can help reduce objections during the sales process, because you've already answered these questions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of, in a nutshell, that's kind of how it helps conversions.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Please.
Yeah. So, one of the things I love about the StoryBrand brand script framework is, it talks about, a lot about the problems and the problems that you solve. And they talk about 3 types of problems. The external, which is probably the frequently asked question many times. The internal problem, which I'll come back to in a second. And then the philosophical, which is just, it's 2024. It shouldn't be that hard to get dental insurance, or it shouldn't be that hard to have pain-free dentistry, or whatever. Just kind of that big philosophical, kind of thing. But the internal problem is what people are thinking. It's what motivates them to buy and to select the business that they're buying from. But they may or may not know exactly how to articulate that. And so when you're building your web page copy from a conversion perspective, focusing on those internal problems is key. Being very, it doesn't have to be an FAQ or an SAQ. It could just be, problem language that you put very clearly, on the top of your website as people are kind of beginning that journey. But reinforcing that down, in the FAQs and SAQs as appropriate is a really powerful conversion strategy.
Yeah, and when you think of conversion strategies, one of the easiest ways to think about that as a business is that in your business, don't think about it as a sales process, because you're looking at it from your perspective, but think about it from the customer standpoint, the customer journey standpoint, where they have to know, like, try, trust, try, buy, repeat, refer, right? So at each of those steps is where a conversion in the buyer's journey happens, and you have a dynamic opportunity to help answer the particular questions they have at each step of that journey. And when thinking about conversions, if you're doing any kind of lead nurturing, whether it could just be phone calling, it could be emails going out, it could be SMS text, whatever it is, think about the question uniquely asked at each of those stages, because I think that's really, really important. And what it can do is it can actually grease the slide of that buyer's journey to make people go through, reduce barriers, help them get to the next phase quicker.
Yeah.
All right. So we're moving on to bucket number 3 today, which is effortless blog content, how to turn simple ideas into engaging posts. So Ken, going to start with you. How can FAQs and SAQs be used as blog post inspiration?
Yeah, so I think every FAQ and every SAQ potentially has the opportunity to be turned into a blog post. Blog posts should be minimum of 750 words, probably. Could be substantially longer, could be up to 2,000 or 3,000 words, depending on, how competitive it is. But it gives you the ability, and Paul mentioned it earlier, and I think, Ian, you also talked about it from a Google profile perspective. You can provide links from either inside your FAQ answers on your website to internal pages, and in this case it'd be a blog post page to elaborate on, answering that question more fully, or likewise driving people to that blog post from a question answer facility on Google Business Profile. So it's really important. It's it's really important because these are questions people ask. This is how they search now. People are using mobile devices. They're using voice search. The search behavior is changed. And so, when people are asking questions more and more, the statistics show that, that's people actually will type in a question even on a desktop search. And so super, super important. Again, you talked about the buyer's journey. Think of every blog post as giving you ammunition to help grease the flow from one sales journey process, or step to the next. It just gives you the ability to really educate somebody so that, I don't know about you guys, but for me, an educated customer is usually a better customer.
Absolutely.
Even if they don't want to know that stuff deeply, they need to know enough to know that they feel confident that they have pre-qualified and qualified and hired the right business to do the work for them. So they don't need to know the details and the nuances, but blogs built around FAQs and SAQs, I think help to answer that a lot. You can group FAQs into a single comprehensive blog post. This could be a great strategy to build what we call hub pages, skyscraper pages, pillar pages. Several different names for these things, but these are authority resource pages that you have on your website that can link to other content on your website. As a real SEO powerhouse, it can link to authoritative websites, to help provide some additional perspective and answers on some of the things that you're having here. I think really the last thing I would say is, as you can tell a story about a customer experience, and how that FAQ or SAQ response helped them get a better outcome. Marketing's all about transformation. And so if people start with a question and you can show the outcome, is a very great positive thing as a result of them working with your business or your product or service, that's super powerful.
Yeah. 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 There's even, this is probably a topic unto itself, but one of the things I stumbled upon over the years was, and specifically with dentistry, this always struck me as something unique, but there's dental charts, and dental charts are used for understanding how teeth evolve over time, like what the difference between adult teeth are and your children's teeth. And there was an interesting circumstance where, and again, I stumbled upon it, but I was quite intrigued by it, was that a lot of traffic was coming to one of my dental clients' websites because they had not just human dental charts, and so it wasn't really high value traffic of prospective patients. But what it did for the website was it gave it this huge authority boost as from a Google perspective, because the amount of traffic that was coming to the website, the amount of consumption of content, and how people were staying on the website from a duration standpoint, but then going to multiple pages to learn more. It was really powerful. And again, that wasn't a conversion focused piece of content, but it really does feel a little bit like, even though it was visual, it does feel like an FAQ because it was a frequently asked question that people were asking related to dentistry at the time.
Yeah. Wow.
Kind of weird, but interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. And why don't you queue up Jeff's next video, which is to answer how can and consistent process.
This question about how to make blog writing a quick and consistent process, I think can apply to any content generation, but specifically in blogs, there's some leveraging of other content that I'll talk about. But Keep in mind the general ideas of the things I'm going to talk about here can be applicable to other types of content as well. First off, create a content calendar. Schedule specific FAQs and SAQ posts in advance. If you know that in January you want to talk about topic X, then you've got plenty of time between now and January to get topic X created. But if you wait until January and you go, what am I going to write about this month? It's going to seem to be a little more of a daunting task, and maybe one you don't like doing as much. Taking the time early on to do ideation, thinking of your topics in at least quarterly chunks, if not yearly, is a way to bypass that and to make it easy to get right down to content creation. And it also lets you think about the seasonalities of your business and how you map specific types of content onto those seasonalities. When you have that calendar created, your ideas, your topics are known, then it's a matter of just sitting down and doing it. So depending on your preferences and your style of work, you may want to batch your content creation, batch your writing up and do whole quarters at once. Or if you're doing weekly posts, maybe do a whole month at once. Instead of having to constantly interrupt what you're doing and sit down and think about creating content, set aside some time, mark that time on your calendar as well, and take a half day. I'm going to go out and I'm going to just work on writing blog articles. I'm going to work on social media posts. So batch it up, set aside time each week, each month to get big chunks of it done all at once. You can also use templates. Templates is the how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, divide and conquer strategy. If you have a template to your blog article, especially if it's an FAQ, an SAQ article, you're going to have a question, you're going to have an answer, you're going to have deeper information behind why the answer works, why it's relevant, and you're going to have the results. Talk about the results to expect and what comes from it. So when you have that template in that flow, now all of a sudden that 1,200 or 1,500 word blog article becomes 200 words here, 300 words there, 100 words there, and it makes it a lot easier to write those chunks. You can outsource if you don't like writing yourself, or you can use AI tools. AI is coming on strong, and AI is a great tool for the initial draft stages of writing content. I still will not advocate taking anything right out of AI and plugging it in your website. It's going to sound like it was out of AI. It's probably not going to rank as well because it's going to be like everybody else that's taking content straight out of AI. But it's a great time saver for initial research, the first draft, and then it lets you put the value out of your expertise into the editing. Go back to outsourcing, you can outsource the editing as well. You can outsource the whole writing from start to finish, or you can give a draft to somebody and have do the editing. There's lots of ways you can approach it that takes the harder, more tedious parts off of you. If you don't have time to do it all, you can outsource the whole thing. You can, in terms of where to get your content from, you can repurpose from other content. So this notion of doing one thing and then carving it up into 5 or 6 different formats is a great notion. If you think about how people consume information, some people like to watch. Videos are great for that. Some people like to listen, podcasts, or maybe videos where they're not watching the screen necessarily, but just have it on the background. Some people like to read, so blog articles. Some people like longer form content that goes into depth. Some people like shorter form, social media shorter form. So lots of different types of content can all come from that one central idea. And you can take big pieces of content and divide them down and use them on short form channels. You can take lots of short form content, aggregate it up, and create a longer form piece of content out of it. So there's lots of repurposing that goes on once you have the topics. And finally, I'd say focus on consistency over perfection. I think it's really easy to get bogged down in trying to be great when it's the saying, good is good enough. You don't have to be perfect. Your lighting in your videos doesn't have to be perfect. Your wording doesn't have to be perfect. Don't obsess over using Grammarly to have absolutely no grammar, punctuation, wording errors, passive voice once in a while. It's how we speak. If you go into the tools and you try and make it perfect, it's probably not really going to be as good as you need it to be, and it's going to take longer. So your time, put the focus into just getting good content out there rather than getting perfect content maybe out there occasionally. Just be consistent.
Yeah, I mean, I can't emphasize enough the importance of a content calendar or marketing calendar. I remember in one of my corporate gigs years ago, I had a junior marketer come in. They had an MBA. They were super smart. But when they were tasked with creating a marketing calendar, they kind of spit at it. They thought, like, what a stupid, needless Mickey Mouse idea. And then once they learned what it does, like, everybody's so familiar with calendars that we fluff them off like they're kids toys or kids tools. But the fact is, when you employ a marketing calendar into your business, man, it's life changing, because now you've created a source of accountability where you've said, okay, in this month, these are the marketing activities that we are committed to doing as a business or as a marketing agency. And it will drive your marketing efforts in a way that you could not believe, because it's such a simple piece to the pie. But I can't speak enough of those.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're moving on to the final bucket, which is called repurpose and win. How to get the most. Did I pause there? How to get the most from one piece of content. So, Paul, how do you repurpose content to save time and effort?
Yeah, Jeff kind of touched on this a little bit, but when especially if you have a long form blog post, long form content on your webpage, you can break that up and use that on, social media, videos, email. And, if you're sending out a newsletter, you can use that email newsletter to link to other pieces of content on your website, and that helps drive traffic back to your website. And like I said, you can break that up and put it on any platform, be it LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You can break that up and use it in videos and put those on YouTube or Facebook. You can use customer testimonials, and you can, especially if you can get a video testimonial, and we've talked about in the past, that's kind of a big ask, but if you can do that, that's really powerful. And then you put that not just on your website, but on other platforms, social media platforms, and you can use the FAQs and SAQs as different forms of content, or use it on different platforms. Facebook video ads, if you're doing any kind of advertising, you can use that as a way to draw people in and show that you are an authority on this topic in your space. So yeah, it's really just taking that content, that long form content, breaking it up, using it on different platforms, and that it gives you content across all these other platforms. Because we talk about the whole omni-channel approach. We live in this omni-channel world, and where people get their information is going to be different.
Yeah, I think, blogs and videos are the drivers to content repurposing, and even if you're using a blog, you can turn that into a short social media post, for Instagram or Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, whatever. You can, you can have a blog post turned into a longer form video that you put, on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, whatever is where your customers are spending time. But there's so many great tools now that will slice and dice content and build it out for you. Take a blog post, turn it into a dozen social media posts. And now that blog post that probably started as, elaborating on an answer to a frequently asked question is now giving you visibility in multiple channels in bite-sized chunks. And so super powerful.
Well, a lot of those FAQs and SAQs can probably be turned into how-to videos, which are the most searched for videos on YouTube to this day, continue to be.
Yeah.
So if you have questions like, how do I program my thermostat? How do I do this? How do I do that? You can turn that into a video, put it on your YouTube channel. And again, that establishes authority and trust.
Yep.
Yeah, I love video so much because if you have a scale of richness of content, right? Video is at the very peak because it's both audio, it's visual, and it's very easy to transcribe it, which creates text, right? Whereas all the other ones, you're missing pieces of that richness. And when if we're talking about ease of production, video is where I would start every day if possible. But some people have a lot of challenges with that. But the beauty of video is that you can take one video of somebody answering some frequently asked questions, and just like you guys talked about, like immediately that becomes one long form video that you can then put on your web page that's talking about those FAQs. You can use them in emails. You can split them into probably 5 different short videos that you can share on TikTok or Instagram or wherever you want to put them. And then it becomes the content that can then feed the answer to the FAQs. So like if you can get the rich content, and if you can sit down as a business and just answer those frequently asked question and then answer the frequently asked question in a video, man, the content creation process will become so fast.
Yeah.
Any further thoughts, guys, as we wrap up?
Fact, yeah.
Well, yeah, if you take this long form content and break it up into smaller pieces, people can watch it while they're driving down the road.
Absolutely.
That was a joke.
Absolutely. Pay attention. That's why they put those big screens in cars now, right?
Yeah. Just do it. I mean, it's important. It's super important. It's, a lot of businesses, the content that they put on their website is literally just, an online brochure. This gives you the ability to make your web, even if you don't have a big budget for a website, this gives you the ability to provide richness and value add to your customers beyond just the, typical brochureware type web pages that you've got.
Yeah. Well, guys, we've covered a lot of ground today, and we did it pretty quick. I'm glad we could get through all those questions and answers, from how to use FAQs to quickly create content for your audience, to how should ask questions can set you apart from your competition, and how to use it, SEO, or how to make SEO friendly content, how to identify the right questions, how to repurpose it. Man, like this is a toolbox for businesses to get their content engine going. So now is the time to do that. Just like Ken said, get doing it. Start small, pick one
That's
FAQ.
not what I said.
No, well, you said to get to get doing it in another way. So start small, pick one FAQ or SAQ, build a piece of content right now before you forget, and you'll find out how easy it is to do. And you'll be amazed, and it will help set you apart in so many ways. So remember, consistency is the key. These simple strategies will help you stay ahead of the game. So thank you to our guides for sharing their insights, and thank you for joining us today. I invite you to submit your questions to us. Give us some challenges. We love challenges. We're all problem solvers by nature. So, and if you're getting value from this podcast, which I assume you are because you're listening right now, you made it to the end, subscribe to it so you'll be pinged when the next one comes out. Provide a review, share it with your friends, family, cats, gerbils, that kind of stuff. And until next week, folks, keep calm and mark it on.